Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bishakha Sen, as you just heard. And after that, Creative Writing in Science, presented by Professor Nasreen, we go on to creative writing in the classroom. No, it was creative writing. It's PowerPoint, creative writing with my Ms. Bishakha. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think you need to stay. Okay, so now we've been having very, very interesting sessions from the morning. I would like everybody in this room to come up with any one idea that comes to their mind when they think of today's session from the morning till now. Everybody, just jot down any one idea. There are about 5 seconds. Okay, I hope everyone's jotting down at least one idea they have about today's sessions, because with all the lights in my eyes, I can't see any faces. What is your name? Sam. Now, in this file, there are some chits of paper, and Samya is going to help me. He's going to take out one chit of paper. Just open it, whichever name.
Turkey.
Okay, I would request anyone from Turkey to give whatever idea they had today. Turkey. Turkey? Okay, yes? One word.
I made the idea that with games, our classes are much more interesting.
Okay, games. Okay. This is the next one.
Ukraine.
Ukraine. Come on, what idea did you get? Ilya, are you going to tell your idea? Come on. Yes. Okay, informative. Okay. Mary, would you like to share one idea, please? Yeah? Pardon? I can't hear.
Unity, that we're all coming together as
Okay, great, unity. And one more.
Shupti Papia.
Shrupti and Papya, my favorites. Where are you? Any one idea you got? If you could just come up and say it, we can't hear you. Any one idea, come.
We really liked the program and we really enjoyed the program very much, and
Okay, you enjoyed it? Anything else?
it's educative and interesting.
Educative and interesting. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, a clap for all of us who shared the ideas. Now, we've got words like enjoyable, informative, unity, educative, interesting. Now, in a classroom situation, when you have these words, what would you do with the words? What would we normally do with these words? Create a story. Excellent. Anything else? Think out of the box. Wonderful. One more? Yes, sir. Pardon? Okay. Okay. Stand-up call. Anyone else? Use it in writing. Wonderful. Now we've got these ideas, right? In a classroom situation, what we've kind of borrowed from the electronic media, we call it word art in inverted commas. What we do is, all this is based on collaborative work. In a group, we would have the participants sharing these ideas. Then one activity would be, they would form, just based on these ideas they have, they would write a poem or song, 4 lines or 2 lines or a jingle, and another part of the group would make a visual. So that's why it's word art. So right now, we don't have the time, or we would have had a wonderful word art session here. So this is just one of the strategies that we can use in creative writing in the global classroom. Okay, basically what happens is that creative writing, it's such a wide spectrum, but here we are kind of developing the 21st century skills of divergent thinking, convergent thinking, and of course Edward de Bono's lateral thinking, because that helps in, you will find critical thinking, creative thinking, problem solving, and many, many other skills. We come to the million-dollar question, and as you will see in your GEIST notepad, there is an essential question on every page. So what is the essential question that we are trying to answer today? It is, what is creative writing and how do we implement it in the classroom? So if you take, from the broad spectrum of creative writing, you have the holistic definition by Warnock about creative writing being perception of the mind based on thoughts and reason, to Romano saying writing by all nature is creative. Carol Bly talking about voice in writing and not the active and passive voice. And of course, finally, Writer's Workshop says that writing cannot be taught, but writers can be encouraged, and that is why we are all here today, to put our heads together as educators, learners, thanks to the GIST, Biplab Da and his team, US Department of State, to learn more and more. So here we have some strategies of creative writing which have actually worked in classrooms across the globe and across all spectrums of society and age groups. You will see some very interesting samples of students' work based on creative writing of the strategy of free writing. Now, those of us who are familiar with free writing, and students just love it, you will see the strategy is basically, you just close your eyes and write. Put your pen to paper and write for 30 seconds. Don't bother about spellings or grammar or anything, just write. If you can't write also, that's okay. And if you look at the samples of students' work, you will find that the one on my left, you will find that the topic was trees, and the first two lines are very crooked. That's because they wrote it with their eyes closed. Trees give us food, shelter. It doesn't matter about the spellings. After that, the next two lines are a bit more, on solid ground, because that they wrote immediately after closing their eyes and writing. They opened their eyes and just jotted down a few ideas. Now, once this went on, it doesn't take more than 2 minutes to do that. Then, collaborative work again, and what you see on the other side are the ideas that they have got on trees. And if you go back to the caption there, 36 ideas on 6 different tracks. And that is the work of 3 students. So again, divergent thinking, FANPOP, it's an acronym, and it has been modified from Bono's lateral thinking, where we often get stuck with ideas. We may have 10 ideas, but we find they're on the same track. So here we deliberately focus on these 6 tracks: feelings, activities, nature, people, objects, places. And then of course you can expand. And in this way you get many, many ideas on which you can focus and write and explore. It can be used for any subject, anytime. Next, quite often when we ask students to write, or even when we have to write, we get a writer's block or a mental block, and we don't know how to begin. So based on learnings and observations again, as I say, in different classrooms, in different situations, and from the TA experience and FDAT experience, we found that these beginnings and endings played a very crucial role. And when we are beginning, maybe we can think of a question. Like if we were to write about today's session, maybe we could begin with a question or a sound also, and then continue. And for endings, we have a wish or a hope, something we want others to remember, something that we have learnt. Again, these are samples from students' work, and you will find that normally when I think most students love to write about my mother. And before we use these strategies in the classroom, I would find them writing very beautiful paragraphs or essays. I love my mother and my mother loves me. But given these prompts, just look at the difference. One child wrote, "Ouch, I hurt my hand," and began screaming. My mother came running. And she ended with, "I wish that I will grow up to be as kind as my mother." And I love the one about the clocks. A student began very angrily, "Who invented clocks?" And she hated very truthfully in her own voice, "I hate clocks, for I cannot sleep late." Maybe some of us here will agree. And the one on the darkness was very profound. "I like the dark, for it is my friend." And again, it may bring you to the song Sounds of Silence. And it ended with, "In the silence of the darkness, I have found myself." For a 14-year-old, that was very, very profound. And the talking school bag. It began with a complaint and a question. "Remember the time you kicked me?" And it ended, "I kept apologizing, and grumpily, she finally said, okay." Now, this was inspired by a session in the English lab at the University of Maryland College Park, College of Education, where English teacher trainees were going through this exercise on the 6-word memoir. And of course, Ernest Hemingway's famous 6-word story, "For sale, baby shoes, never worn." Now, for children, maybe at the age of 10 or 11, it's very difficult to write a memoir. So this was modified to the 6-word self-portrait with some prompts. So they would write 1 word for strength, 1 word for weakness, choose 1 value, and 3 words for something that they know but others don't know about themselves. So this student sample was, strength was family, weakness was anger, value was smile, that's a lovely value, and something only you know but others don't know, she came up with easily forgive others, which is very hard for many adults. And this actually examples from 6-word self-portraits done with 13, 14-year-olds in the American school, Greenbelt Little School in Maryland. And since we had some more time there, they came up with these very interesting self-portraits. And then according to the quality they were describing, we made cutouts. And if it was to do with the intellect, they stuck it on the head, or if it was to do with a physical attribute, they stuck it on the arms or whatever, and if it was to do with the heart and feelings in the center. So one child came up with dancer, she hated water, nail art, and very strangely enough, for a 13-year-old American girl, she was a vegetarian. The other child was amazing. And just by looking at him, you knew he was one of the greatest lateral thinkers who would probably emerge and win a Nobel Prize sometime. He came up with lateral thinker. He was physically weak. He was a science fiction person. And he had created an unknown language. Also, these strategies can be used in any vernacular language and in any age group, and also in other subjects. If you just see, these are just a few samples of students' work when history comes alive. The Caterpillar is actually a journal written by a 13-year-old student, a 7-day experience of our famous social reformer and educationist, Bishakha. And the other one is they had to design their own event in history, which is their favorite. And when you open that, there is actually writing, and they have expressed why they have chosen that as their favorite topic. Now, as educators, nobody is happy unless we kind of give a concrete assessment. Now, it is one of the most challenging aspects of any creativity, whether it's creative writing or anything. How do we assess creativity? Now, based on Guilford and Torrance, they identified these 4 areas: fluency, flexibility, originality, and elaboration. The number of different ideas is fluency, flexibility, the different tracks, originality. Now, this is extremely difficult to assess. Say, out of a class of 20, if even 2 children have a distinctive idea, it's original. And elaboration, if they elaborate on the idea that they have given. It does work. It's not that this assessment is the closest to assessing creativity that we've come up with. And of course, what is the impact? There's a tremendous impact. And because it is usually done collaboratively, these skills and values develop in an indirect way. And teachers are facilitators. We are not imposing anything on them. They develop skills, as I said, of problem solving, divergent thinking, synthesis, self-expression, prioritize, evaluation, analysis, imaginative, and very significantly, they develop the values of appreciation, empathy, their self-esteem increases, their powers of self-expression, self-confidence increases. And these are the many resources for creative writing, and my grateful thanks to the University of Maryland, College Park. They had a fantastic library, and these resources were available there. Thank you very much.